Thought I was going to the NBA. That was the only thing at the forefront of my mind. So I had it taken away from me. That allowed me to start to think for the end game, which is life after basketball. I was 22, 23 in the Czech Republic. It's like, okay, how am I going to make use of my time as opposed to like sitting there and playing video games for 10 hours of the day? So April, I broke my hand. June, I came back, played a few games with Scarborough, and then I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. That showed me that it can be taken away that easy. Just as we say in basketball, there's always someone out there who might be working harder than you. Yeah. There might be someone in the professional world that's out there working harder than you. You know, build some transferable skills that allow you to have a successful job and be a successful athlete. I think you can do both, and that's what my plan is. You have the ability to set yourself up for success. It depends on how much you want to.
Welcome to another episode of You Only Die Twice. I am your host, Warren Ward, and in this episode, I am joined by Danilo Djuricic. He is a former Under-19 Team Canada gold medalist. He attended the University of Harvard in Boston, and after which he went on to a pro career playing overseas for 3 years, and also played with the Scarborough Shooting Stars until he was diagnosed with testicular cancer in June 2023. I love this episode for two reasons. One, Danilo demonstrates his cunning ability to balance professional sports and building his life afterwards, and secondarily, the fact that cancer can affect you at any age. And that's something for young men to highly be aware about. If you like this podcast, the best way to support it is to like, comment, subscribe, and of course, share with a friend. Without further ado, let's get into it. Playoffs? What you got?
Denver.
All the way?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Why?
Jokic is my guy.
Okay.
I think they play the best basketball in the league.
All right.
In terms of how they move the ball. I'm big team basketball guy, so that's why I support them. So.
What about in the East?
And in the East, Boston.
Really?
Yeah,
so you think it's Boston-Denver
final?
final?
Boston-Denver final.
I've seen that on a few brackets.
Yeah. I think Denver in 6.
Okay.
That's my prediction.
I am not gonna boast about the NCAA tournament, but I am because I did win my group.
Okay,
bracket.
There you go.
I won 5 bills. So
did you have UConn winning?
I had UConn winning.
Wow.
I had UConn and Purdue in the final.
Okay. I had Purdue in the final. I didn't do a bracket because I lose every single year.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I knew UConn was amazing, but I just wanted, rooting for Canadians and all that stuff. So.
I know. I thought about it. But I was like, nah, bro, UConn got it.
Yeah. They're a machine. So
exactly. Who introduced you to basketball?
Honestly, I was a soccer guy. My hair used to
me
be.
Too.
I used to have Zlatan Ibrahimovic's hair.
Okay.
So I used to, wear a ponytail, play, whatever. And then I grew a lot.
Yeah.
So I was way too tall compared to all the other soccer kids, and I had an assistant coach who recommended basketball because his son played on a basketball team. And
how old were you?
Kind of summer of grade 5. So I was 10 or 11.
10 or 11, yeah.
Oh, so
crazy.
Started a little bit late compared to others.
In Brampton, though.
Brampton Warriors.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my first team.
Brampton 89s. No. Brampton East?
Brampton EastEnders.
Brampton East
yeah.
as well.
Did you play?
I did.
For Brampton East?
I did. One
Shut
year,
up.
and then I stopped.
Are you a Brampton guy?
No
way.
Yeah. I was born in
so
London,
how did I not know
Ontario.
that?
I don't know. I was born in London, Ontario, and then I moved to Brampton when I was 13.
Brampton for 20 years, and we moved out to Etobicoke. So
okay.
Now I'm in Etobicoke for 5 years now. So.
And then basketball became your thing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said it was your assistant coach?
Assistant coach, Mark Wharton.
Okay.
Yeah. Noah Wharton, his son, just got drafted at Calgary Surge. So yeah, man, it's funny how stuff starts to come full circle, right? So yeah.
Okay. And why'd you stick with basketball?
I loved it. Fell in love with it.
Really? Right away?
Yeah, right away. Had the height for it, obviously.
Yeah.
I think I was like 6'2" in grade 6, 6'4" in grade 7.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I was dunking in grade 6, like that sort of thing. So it was like, okay, now I'm gonna stick with this because I could have something.
Okay. And I'm guessing all the scouts, all the attention, people saw you play, and then they
pretty much
flooded to you. So you left Brampton, and then where'd you go to high school?
At St. Mike's downtown,
Okay.
Bathurst and St. Clair. So that was grade 9 through 12. Yeah, great experience for me. Great prep for university, both on and off the court. So. Yeah.
Okay. And talk about that. What was it like?
At school?
Yeah.
Harvard.
No. Before that, high school.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. As you developed.
St. Mike's was, actually pretty tough. I mean, we'll get to the second part of my education, I'm assuming, but St. Mike's, I say, is harder than Harvard for me.
Basketball-wise?
No.
Academically?
In total.
Oh, wow.
I lived in Brampton, so I commuted from Brampton to downtown every single day.
Jeez.
Morning, and then, after school, after practice. So 5:45 wake-ups. I would get home around like 6, 7 p.m. and then do the cycle every day. So it taught me a lot in my life and, discipline-wise and development. So
how'd you get there, bus?
Go bus from Bramley to Yorkdale, subway from Yorkdale to St. Clair West.
Bro, that's a journey, bro. For 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
So
I hated it at first. I always tell people this story. I had a talk with my mom. I was in 9th grade, 2 weeks into the school year. I was exhausted because obviously that's a tough schedule for a 13, 14-year-old. So I was obviously really upset. My mom came in my room. We just had a really long, deep conversation about how it's going to really pay off. St. Mike's an amazing school, very prestigious. It's going to really prepare me for life. All the trials and tribulations I'm going through now is going to really develop me and teach me a lot of things. So, I think it truly did. And, my mom and my dad were huge supporters, and they always preached education first. So it's kind of the reason why they continue to support me, reaching for the highest level, both academically and athletically. So.
Definitely. I can see that. And,
yeah, thank you.
There's been a long history of very good athletes to go to St. Mike's. Someone that we've had on this show, Mr. Leo Routens, sure. He's a St. Mike's grad as well. So you were a high school standout, Team Canada member, under 18 silver medalist. Then you went on to Harvard.
Well, I had a U19 gold medalist.
So, excuse me.
Yeah,
there you
no
go.
worries. No worries.
Add that in there. There you go.
Then went to Harvard, yes.
Why'd you go to Harvard?
So
besides your parents.
Yeah, my parents, obviously, education first. I recognize the importance of it, just not due to their teachings, but, obviously setting myself up for success, to have a, successful job, high level network. I visited Harvard, and I had visits set up to Princeton and Grand Canyon University. Dan Marley was a coach at Grand Canyon.
Dope.
Guy highly respected. He said at the time that I reminded him of himself 20 years ago. So that was like, huge to me. Obviously an NBA All-Star legend, whatever. I ended up going to Harvard just after my visit. My uncle went to Boston College, played football. So my family was familiar with Boston. It felt like home right away. I loved the guys. But then, the city of Boston I also fell in love with. There's so much stuff to do. And I chose Harvard because I looked at it not only as a 4-year decision, but I chose it as a 40-year decision. So, from the time I stepped foot on Harvard's campus, 40 years from now, it's going to be a decision that affects my life, both, with the education I'm receiving, the network I'm kind of collecting. Not to say people are being collected, but, it's relationships and, building a network. So, it's paid off for me thus far, and look forward to seeing how it continues to go. So
when you say you made instead of making a 4-year decision, you made a 40-year decision.
Yes.
What is it like? What does that mean exactly?
Yeah, this is something I kind of go by. It's basically, not to say it was a life decision, right? So a lot of people choose their university as a 4-year decision because they're going to be their home for the next 4 years. So I looked at it under that lens, but then amplified it to make it a life decision by making Harvard that home for me for 4 years, knowing that the connections, the education, the prestige of attending a school like that will last with me, for 40 years plus until I retire. So I looked at it as a full life decision to retirement.
Do you think most athletes should do that, make decisions with that in mind?
I think it's important to kind of keep in mind, for sure. Everyone has their own aspirations in terms of, shooting for maybe the highest level athletically. For the NBA, the Harvard might not be a decision to go to the NBA. Yeah. I think it's possible. I think anything's possible if you're going to continue working to it. I obviously had a bunch of different things go on in my life, which maybe, kind of turn my path around a little bit, but I think it's important to aspire to the highest level in everything you're kind of doing. So I think athletically, academically, I think athletes should look for both sides of the page because, as we're going to talk about, I'm sure in this podcast, there's a lot more to life than basketball, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. I got to ask a question. How long, when you introduce yourself, do you say that, like, I went to Harvard? Because if it was me, I'd be like, I'm Warren. I went to Harvard.
I don't like doing it at all.
Really?
It's funny.
But it's such a prestigious school. Like most people, when you think about Harvard, you don't equate that with basketball.
For sure.
It's like for you to make that decision at such a young age and to be thinking, I'm thinking 40 years down the line. Like I went to University of Ottawa. I was thinking about 4 years and then I'm going to Europe.
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
Right.
You're thinking about, I'm going to go here. I'm going to make all these connections. I'm going to have this attached to my name because it's there forever now. Yeah. And it's going to set you up for the rest of your life.
True.
That's like extremely profound.
Yes. I mean, you're right. I personally, I keep it under wraps until people ask about it, you know, in terms of like, where did you go to school? Yeah. I'll be like, I went to school in Boston. Oh, where in Boston? And then, I'll introduce it then, just because, I feel like I like to let, my character, my, myself, me speak for myself. Right. So like, if someone's interested enough in learning my story, I'll share it. But, I don't want to let something like, okay, Harvard define who I am, because I think I'm also much more than that. Right.
Because Harvard can also be like some's like whole identity as well, right?
No, absolutely. Right? Yeah, that's actually a joke, right? Like a lot of people in that go to Ivy League schools, it's like they don't really have anything to say other than like you joked about, like, hi, I'm Warren, I went to Harvard. That's it. So I never want to be like that. Just want to let my who I am speak for myself. So
was it hard to maintain like the academic pressure of going to Harvard, or is it a basketball school as well, or is it mostly academic?
Mostly academic. I respect the school because they don't put anyone on a higher pedestal. So just because you're an athlete doesn't mean you have extra extensions on classwork or hey man, I wish it was like that. They held every student that was at the school to the same standard, which is I think it's important for, just preparation for life, right? Mm-hmm. I actually, as I was starting to allude to, like, I thought St. Mike's was harder than Harvard because St. Mike's was an 8 course load, like, semester. Yeah, yeah. As opposed to when I went to university, it was 4 courses. Yeah. So, like, and plus I had that commute. So I would roll out of bed at Harvard, go to class, and then have all my workouts and stuff for the team after. But, like, 15-minute walk as opposed to like hour and 15, hour and 30-minute, commute
every day,
plus, 4 courses as opposed to 8. So I'm saving a lot of time in that. Right. And, that's why I tell people it was easier. It wasn't easier in the sense that Harvard is a joke, but, right. I had a lot more time to work on stuff I needed to do. So.
Yeah. Your former teammate, Chris Egge.
Yes.
He made a massive statement by not going to the draft. Mm-hmm. He basically essentially used Harvard as a forefront for his education and to set him up in life.
Absolutely.
And he was someone who's projected to be like an actual lottery pick and decided not to do that. What are your thoughts on that?
Chris, so a funny story, even before I get to that, Chris Egge was someone I actually modeled my student athlete life after. Nice. So when I was playing for Brampton Warriors, actually we had a showcase at St. Andrews College School in Aurora, and that's where Chris Egge was attending. So I went to St. Mike's, he went to St. Andrews. So, I mean, similar pathways in terms of, private school education. So he was at St. Andrews, and I remember he was maybe like, I think he's 4 or 5 years older than me. He was giving a speech to all the kids at the showcase. So we were like grade 6, grade 7 at the time. So he must have been grade 10, grade 11, or whatever. I think it was grade 10. He was telling the kids about his basketball kind of experience, but then he talked about his academic experience as well, and he had like 104 average in high school. And I'm like, how is this even possible? Like, this guy's incredible. Like, Team Canada, he's killing it in the classroom. I'm like, so seeing that myself was, I want to model myself after a guy like Chris Egge. Like, why can't I? Yeah. So he was part of that first wave, obviously, that went to Harvard. There was a big Canadian pipeline the years following. So always kind of looked up to a guy like that. He's an amazing person. I think that just speaks to like who he is. He wants to be, a prime minister of Canada in the future. Like, he is on Wall Street right now. He finished HBS. Now he's doing, which is Harvard Business School, and now he's doing Harvard Law School. So the guy's honestly like a machine. Like, in the best way possible. Like, he's incredible. I can't say more amazing things about that guy. And you know, just speaks to being more than an athlete, right? He was an amazing basketball player in high school, college, and then, you know, decided that he wanted to aspire for greater, honestly. So, yeah, huge respect to him.
Yeah, and I find, to be honest, like I now that I'm older, I can look back and be like, again, the foresight you guys had to see that and not put everything into basketball. I think it's like your environment. I didn't have anyone like Chris Eggy around to like show like, yo, there is another way, and you saw that, and now you're capitalizing on it. You know, and that's extremely powerful. Are you surprised that he decided not to pursue basketball, even though he could have? He probably could be in the NBA.
I mean, no, I'm not too surprised just knowing him personally.
Okay.
Like I said, you know, he's always aspired for greater. Like, you know, a guy like him, I think, has all the makings of being someone who can be a leader in politics and whatever he wants to do. Like, I truly could see him as a prime minister just because of how great of a person and how well-rounded he is.
Yeah.
So I think like he's meant to impact more people on a higher scale separate from basketball because of the power that he did in terms of, you know, basically saying basketball is amazing, I'm great at it, but, you know, I'm going to go and do more. Yeah. So that's something that's truly inspiring, I think.
Yeah, and you're someone that's kind of accepting that challenge now. You want to do a lot more than
absolutely
just be known as even though you're still technically in it, which is great.
Yes, yeah, I'm still playing. Looking forward to this summer. Yeah, I mean, I think me personally, as soon as, you know, you recognize that there's 24 hours in a day, you can really kind of determine and structure what you want to get out of it. My parents were always huge believers. My dad especially would always tell me, like, there's enough time to do everything in the day as long as you know, kind of cut it up and are disciplined and structure it. So I think that, you know, you're able to be much more than an athlete, never kind of like fit yourself to that role. I think you can aspire to do a lot of things because there's so much free time in sport, in my opinion. So
I agree.
Yeah.
I didn't use it wisely, but I agree. Your senior year at Harvard, better yet, we'll start with, would you say from high school to your senior year of Harvard, basketball was all you cared about?
All I cared about. So I thought I was going to the NBA.
Okay.
That was the only thing at the forefront of my mind. Every summer I came back in university and I trained at the National Training Center with Canada Basketball. And that was my only kind of, you know, thing I was preparing for, basketball.
And then your senior year, what happened?
Senior year, COVID hit.
You got hit with the vids.
And that actually began junior year. So before our conference tournament, you know, we were looking forward to going to March Madness. So it would have been my first time. Didn't have the pleasure of experiencing it, obviously. My freshman year, we lost to Penn at Penn, and then we lost to Yale at Yale in the final. Okay. So we were hosting my third year, so I was excited for it. Just based off that kind of past, you think that, you know, we're going to win too. We were poised for it as well, and then COVID hit, and that's when, you know, life obviously flipped around for everyone, right? So that's when I kind of realized, like, I had my only kind of, like, not to say only, because I was at Harvard for a reason.
Of course.
I prioritized academics, but, you know, that was my life goal. Like, it was like, okay.
It was your purpose.
Yeah, it was my purpose, like basketball. It was my identity. So having that stripped of me for not only that couple months, but then the Ivy League was the only league in the NCAA to not have a senior season. Like, I'm sitting on the couch watching all my boys play.
Why is that?
They, I guess, were a little bit more cautious in terms of protecting their student athletes, I guess, health-wise. You know, it is what it is.
You know, the reputation-wise.
Reputation as well. You know, they didn't want to make, you know, it was a lot of uncertainty during that time, right? So people didn't want to make a decision that they would look back on and be like, oh, even the Ivy League's kind of messed up, right? So I think they were being a lot more cautious in that sense. And, you know, it is what it is looking back on it. You know, I think it helped me start to prepare for life after, even while I still had the dreams of playing professionally. You know what I mean? It may have closed doors for something like the NBA just because I actually it took like 22 months for me to play from college to my first professional year.
22 months?
22 months.
Without dribbling the ball in the game?
Well, no official.
No,
like I've played runs and all that stuff, but you know, during COVID and living in Toronto with all the lockdowns, no gym access, it was just like the craziest thing. So training came whenever you were in a gym, you were blessed and lucky.
I know, right?
And then it was shut down again, and you just had to find ways to kind of make it happen. So it took me 22 months to play and officiate a game again. So
wow. Well, what do you think your mindset was Before COVID and after COVID.
Before COVID, it was only basketball. After COVID, I'm much more than an athlete. So actually the blessing of COVID, it kind of changed my trajectory and what I really wanted to do as an individual. So I ended up meeting someone who is truly very, very special in my life. Someone I consider my mentor, Sharon Lau. So she's actually with Canada Basketball as the chair of the foundation of the fundraising side of Canada Basketball. She's a rock star in finance. She's been in the industry for over 25 years. So she's took me under her wing professionally. So, as soon as COVID hit, we started meeting with her and, built a LinkedIn, first thing we did.
Oh, wow.
Started connecting with a lot of people because, that's the place to do it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just taking steps to be a professional and not just have basketball as the only thing that I really focused on.
How'd you meet her?
Met her through Canada Basketball, actually.
Okay.
Met her through a guy named Shamari McGee, who's a trainer of mine during the pandemic. No, not during the pandemic, actually, prior to it. But during COVID, I know they both founded Jump Through Hoops, which is a youth development organization, and that I'm still a part of to this day. It's been 4 years in the running now. And I actually just wanted to go and help out. So we were delivering food to sick kids. We were training kids during the pandemic, and I was also getting we were working out together.
Yeah.
And then through him, I met Sharon, and those two are, they mean a lot to me in my life, and they've helped me a lot out in terms of not only on the court but off the court, and I consider them family. So, yeah, both of them are two people that have truly helped me, and Sharon. So her mentorship has been huge in terms of allowing me to prepare and recognize what Harvard has kind of given me, right? I've always been basketball, but I have a Harvard degree, right? So helping me realize that, have the confidence to kind of use that to my advantage.
Hell yeah.
is something that people don't, and athletes I think don't recognize. Like if you have a degree, like you have what everyone else has, but you have the ability to play professional sport, right?
Exactly.
So
and the discipline to go with that. How many hours a day you think you spend on basketball?
How many hours a day?
Yeah.
Probably say about 2.5, 3, maybe sometimes 3.5, 4 hours.
Okay.
It depends on the day. If I'm doing 2 a days, or I'm just getting one good session in. That includes taking care of the body, stretching,
of course,
eating right, whatever, sleeping. So I mean, looking at that, right? There's 4 maybe tops hours a day you're spending on the sport. There's 20 more hours,
exactly.
Right? Say you sleep 8, there's 12 hours. What are you doing within those 12 hours to further yourself as an individual, not just an athlete? Yeah. So that's the way I looked at it in my professional career, playing overseas. There's language barrier. You're obviously cool with your teammates, but some of those guys have families, so they're going home to their family. It's okay, now I'm kind of stuck alone here. I was 22, 23 in the Czech Republic. It's okay, how am I going to make use of my time as opposed to sitting there and playing video games for 10 hours of the day?
What'd you do?
Sometimes I did that.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that's what I was
Sometimes
doing.
I did that, but I look to kind of launch some entrepreneurial ventures for myself.
Okay, such as?
So I have a small mentoring and consulting business that I do in terms of trying to help.
Stop downplaying yourself. Small mentoring. Come on,
small,
man.
Still trying to build it.
Okay. You started a business.
So kind of taking on student athlete clients who are looking to further themselves both on and off the court. And kind of learn from my experiences. I can mentor them and I can teach them how to do specific things that help me in terms of preparing for, building on and off the court while still playing.
So resumes.
Yep. We talked about. So building a Harvard level resume.
Yeah.
Building a Harvard level LinkedIn.
Yeah. I'm going to consult with you after this on how to do that.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah, I got you.
I got you.
Okay. Thank you.
But yeah, so certain things, obviously using the Harvard brand, but also I learned a lot from that school. So I'm going to share it with people who want to learn about it. So did that. I also founded another small business. It's still growing. So some small stuff that I'm doing, but it's a media and design company with a partner of mine out in Edmonton.
Nice.
She's a rock star in the graphic design industry and design in general. Her name's Alex Zhivkovic. She's, I actually met her through the CEBL.
Okay.
So she was a photographer for the Edmonton Stingers, and then through there we just kind of you know, she took some pictures of the game, sent them through. We started working together. She did a lot of my design work. And then from there, it's like, why can't we scale this to bring this to other people and companies and that sort of thing? So yeah, two business kind of endeavors I launched during my professional career so far, and then still trying to further myself professionally, right? So I mentioned my mentor, Sharon. She's like a second mom to me. So she works in the finance industry. And then my plan is to work with her in the coming months. Going forward, that's going to be my career path in finance. That's what it's looking like.
While playing.
Dope. So that's kind of my plan. I'm currently doing some finance certificates, Canadian securities course. I have to do the CPH after that, and just things to, you know, set myself up for life. Why can't I do it while I'm playing? That's the way I look at it, right? Like you have so much free time. It's, you know, let's go and do it instead of, you know, using it and wasting it. And I'm always been efficient with whatever I'm doing, and especially with time, there's only, you know, so much of it that I want to make use of it. So.
Right. Would you say that since COVID, you've basically been thinking about the end while you're in it?
Absolutely. Because I had it taken away from me. You know what I mean? Like,
and you know it's going to come again.
Yes, exactly. So COVID was that time where it was like I didn't have basketball. I had no access to basketball. My team was not playing in a league that 360 other teams were playing. Right. So that showed me that it can be taken away that easy, whether it's, you know, retirement,
injury, whatever,
fall out of love with the game, or it's just circumstances out of your control, right? So that allowed me to start to think for the end game, which is, you know, life after basketball, but, you know, allowed me to have some inspiration to start it while playing. Why not? Right. So
one of the things I wanted to touch upon with the like D1 is that, so the British Journal of Sports Medicine published an article saying that among D1 athletes now in the past 20 years, the suicide rate has risen from 7.6% to 15.3%. And that number continues to increase. And this is among D1 athletes. Do you think because of social media, because of the pressure that athletes and just the fact that I've been posting about basketball for 5 years and then I don't make it to the NBA, or I don't make it in whatever sport, then I stop. Do you think that added pressure now and the identity that I'm just this athlete, even if I went to Harvard, do you think that's a result of why this has gone up? And like, you know, you're pretty close to your move. I'm old, so it's different. Yeah.
No, I absolutely do think it's, you know, a huge factor. Like social media, I hate it, but you know, there's a lot of added pressures now today's day and age. People look at it, that basketball, like they're only an athlete, and when obviously you put so much dedication, love, energy into something and it doesn't work out, it's disappointing. Right. So I think that, you know, people just need to recognize that you do so many more things other than just dribbling a ball and putting in the hoop. Like that's an amazing part of life, but there's a lot more things that you are, right? You can be a brother, you could be a friend, you have your own passions, right? A lot of people play basketball, but then also like do music or art or whatever it is, right? So you can't just label yourself within one thing. I think that's why it's so much more important that there should be an emphasis on, you know, awareness of pushing athletes towards recognizing that they're much more than an athlete.
Do you think NIL deals help that? Because it's name, image, and likeness. So you're essentially telling the individual, here, we'll give you money for this, which is helping the sport because a lot more people are playing longer in college.
Absolutely.
But on the downside of that is that you're using your name, image, and likeness. So it's me and this thing that I'm doing. I'm a gymnast. I'm this. I'm that. And then after those 4 years, I'm done. Yeah. And if I don't make it, I don't make millions of dollars, I'm left with trying to figure out who I am without this.
Right. I think NIL is. Honestly, I think there's no real negatives to NIL.
Because I would take the money for sure.
Absolutely.
I would.
Absolutely. But I think also in the same sense, right? Like they're receiving money for it. They have to go through some negotiations. They have to start to develop a business acumen too, right? So I think there's so many benefits to it that also lead to some development of life after too, right? So like I said, the negotiations, and now I got to learn to market myself and brand myself in the most positive way. And you know, there's a lot of things they start to kind of learn through NIL in terms of trying to obviously make the most money. But it's also learning to brand, market, develop, grow on a business and professional side as opposed to only the basketball side. So I think it's honestly a huge plus, separate from like the money, everything else that comes with it. But I think it's a way to get athletes to start to learn that sort of thing too.
After Harvard, you were able to, essentially, reach a dream of yours. You became a pro. Mm-hmm. You went overseas. You played 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then what happened?
It's been kind of a crazy journey. So I played my first professional year after 22 months. Mm-hmm. Obviously that long period of time is a long pause. So it took me a little bit of time to get a team that believed in me. So I went to the Czech Republic in January of 2022. Played for Brno in the Czech Republic, which is an hour and a half from Prague. So beautiful part of Europe. Nice. I loved it. I was there for 2 years, but so I played in Brno January 2022, came back. I played with the Scarborough Shooting Stars.
Mm-hmm. You broke your hand in between that time too?
No,
right?
So that's my second season. Played with the Scarborough Shooting Stars. We ended up losing in the final. Mm-hmm. After that, I took some time away from basketball because I thought I was ready to retire. And that was when I was, 1 year. I was 23. Wasn't having fun, which was something that, I always have during basketball. So it was a very confusing time for me. I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do. I had a Harvard degree. Mm-hmm. I did a kind of a filler job in tech sales with, you're familiar with that as well. But, I think it's a lucrative kind of job and a place to kind of, make some good money. And there's so much opportunity in technology nowadays. But, I actually started working with some guys from my high school. A good friend of mine, Rob Grilly, gave me an opportunity. So I went and worked with him for 4 months. But during that time, I started to kind of miss the game, right? Feel like I had a little bit more to give to the game and feel like I had a lot left in the tank. So I ended up quitting the job in November and then went back to the Czech Republic in December. So December of 2022 so I was back in Brno. Played, actually it was my best season of basketball that I can remember since probably the gold medal year with Canada basketball. I ended up averaging, I think 10, 6 and 2 in 23 minutes in Europe. It's pretty good in a mid-major league in the Czech Republic, but broke my hand the game before the playoffs. So I got my little scar right here. Something that, reminds me of, a lot of stuff that I've been through in basketball. Broke my hand, flew home. I signed with Scarborough, so that's a team I have a lot of trust and respect for and loyalty to. I love the city of Scarborough. I love all the people that are involved with the organization. They were willing to stick with me even though I broke my hand and give me that opportunity. So, kind of was going through the rehab process. Got back, was playing in June. So April I broke my hand. June I came back, played a few games with Scarborough, and then that's when life took another turn for me. I know we had separate discussions on this, but I shared something recently. But I was diagnosed with testicular cancer. So something that I wanted to share with the world, just because I think there's not enough awareness in it. A lot of young men don't know that you can kind of get it. It's the most popular age is 18 to 35 to be diagnosed with it. Something I had no experience with, no knowledge, no education on. So I had to really adjust, and it kind of hit me it was something that was unexpected, obviously. Hit my family a little bit more than me, and seeing my family kind of stressed and obviously concerned about it, made me a little bit more stressed. I wasn't stressed at all because I knew I was going to get through it, but seeing my family stressed affected me a little bit. So June was when I was diagnosed. July I had surgery. So I took the year completely off of basketball just to kind of ground myself, focus on, my health and being around family, and had my 6-month checkup in February. All's good, knock on wood, continues to be that way, living a healthy life, back to normal. So I decided to share my experience this month, actually at the start of the month, because it's Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, just to, let young men and people alike, give some education on it. Wanted to just spread awareness and, share a little bit of my story, just so that, if I could help someone go through something that I was going through, even if it's just one person, for me, that's a win. So
that's a big win.
That's what I wanted to kind of just share and get awareness across. So,
and I'm so glad you did that. I read your article. I'll be honest, I was completely unaware of it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you had it. And then I read the article and I went in the shower and I checked myself. I had the same thing you did. I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, looking.
I didn't either, man. I was, you know what? Like, and obviously hearing that, you got to check yourself. It's like, yo, what do I do?
What do I do? You
right?
know?
So it's funny. One of my best friends, he was a college roommate of mine. He's at Columbia Med School now. His name's PK. One of my best friends, he was going through, so I shared it in my article, but, you know, just to put it on here too, like we were playing video games and he was joking about, you know, guys, right? Like we were joking around about, you know, going through them. He's learning about male genitalia and all that stuff, right? We were just messing around and
I would have been dying.
and we thought he was joking, right? Like we haven't heard this before. And he's like, no, like you guys actually got to check yourselves.
I'm
like
telling
it's something that, you know, just to be aware of.
I got a magnifying glass. I was looking, bro.
No, actually.
I'm telling you.
So, you know, without a physical demonstration, obviously, he, you know, explained how to.
Yeah.
You know, obviously not being someone in the medical field, but, you know, just through my experience, it's just, I was told to basically, as you're washing yourself in the shower or after a shower, you kind of just, you know, grab hold of your family jewels and kind of feel for any unusual lumps, hardness, you know, just specific things that feel unusual.
So it'd be underneath the skin, on the skin?
In the skin, specifically attached to the egg or, you know what I mean? Like, there's different things that it could be, but just looking for anything that is specifically unusual, hard lumps inside, around, or like specifically on the testicle itself. So that is basically how to check. And then from there, that's where I found something unusual in myself, called the doctor, scheduled an appointment. He took a look at it. Then he referred me to a urologist, which is someone who specializes in that area.
Right.
And then from there, they recommended the ultrasound to confirm it's what they thought it was. So based off of just, you know, their examination, it was what they were predicting. The ultrasound confirmed that. From the ultrasound, I was put to a CT scan, did some blood work to, you know, further confirm it is what they felt. And then from there, that's when the surgery was booked. So,
and like without being too graphic, like are these bumps like big or are they small?
Varies in size depending on how early it is. So mine was early, so small, but it's, you know, it's maybe like a pea-sized lump that was hard. Yeah. And then, you know, I started to make it a routine practice of mine. And then 6 months later is when I actually discovered it. So imagine not having that conversation and then going through life. And what if I, you know, could have got a lot worse than what it was. And luckily I found it early. Yep. So luckily I found it early and didn't have to go through chemo or anything. And knock on wood, I won't have to, just, you know, in terms of it not coming back. But just something I was very, you know, lucky to do, and, you know, credit to him in terms of being someone that kind of just gave me that awareness. So now I wanted to share my story just so everyone else has that awareness.
And you, I mean, that obviously put things in perspective for you. Basketball was no longer a care in the world. You're thinking about your life and how, you know, if you're gonna live and all the, like, whenever people hear cancer, you automatically think of the worst. So, man, mentally, how'd you deal with that?
Yeah, so you know, I had to lean heavily on my support system. You know, so credit to everyone very close in my life that I have a lot of love for, that, you know, kind of just was there for me during that time, for me to like vent or, you know, just hang out and give me some, you know, uplift my spirits a little bit. You know what I mean? Because it's funny, well, not funny, but like my greatest goal in life is just to, you know, have a happy, healthy family. Like that's my thing. Like I love kids, and, you know, I want to eventually have, you know, a nice, you know, a healthy relationship with a great woman, and, you know, bring, you know, life into the world. And that's kind of what I want to do. So, you know, obviously when I first had this, I'm like, damn, is that not going to happen? Yeah. I had no experience with it. And that's when, you know, through further education, you know, started to realize that, yes, you can have kids with testicular cancer and everything can be normal. Like, and it is, like, in my situation right now. So, and it should be, you know, obviously, but, yeah, something that I was completely unaware of. And then, you know, it kind of for a second made me think, like, is my, you know, goal, you know, achievable? Yeah. So that was something that, I'm very blessed and thankful for, and the doctor staff that, performed all the, procedures with me was, I have a lot of thanks for, and, just especially my support system, because without them, like, I would be a little bit lost, right? So, my family, my close friends and teammates, the Scarborough Shooting Stars organization, I actually, obviously was diagnosed while I was with them. And they're very supportive and giving me, anything I needed in terms of like time, support. My teammates are always checking on me. The organization from top to bottom was stepping in on, it's not stepping in, supporting me, but like checking in on me.
Of course.
So that really meant a lot to me as well.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. That's it's monumental to go through that at a young age. I know I'd have been shitting my pants for sure if I'd ever hear that. So, it's nice to see that you had the support and it didn't break you. That's like, you should really be proud of yourself for that, because that is some people deal with injury and stuff, but that's life altering. You should be really proud of yourself for your for your attitude.
Thank you.
And your mindset towards that.
Absolutely.
In the article that you did write, you talked about don't let cancer become an identifier. What does that mean to you, and could that also be applied to sports as well?
Yes, I think so. So again, like we kind of touched on back earlier in the podcast, but like, I never think that you should be defined by one thing or labeled by one thing. So, that specific quote was actually from a good friend of mine, Fez.
Okay.
He going through his own health experiences, like, being very close in terms of the basketball world. Like, he was someone I leaned on during this time, just because, I was new to it. I knew what he's gone through. So I wanted to kind of just get some inspiration and, talk to him about his experience. So that was something that he shared with me. And then I kind of, took in myself, like, yeah, just because I have this, like, that's fine. Like, cool. I'm going to just continue to like push forward, be positive. Doesn't change, who I am. And, I'm still, like I wrote, I'm still, or like he said, I'm still Danilo.
Yeah.
Right. So, never letting anything kind of define you or keep you within one sort of, label. So. And
now do you when you're working out or doing anything in your life, do you ever use that as maybe a crutch or excuses to like, I'm not going to push myself today because, this may have happened, or, this could happen? Or
Never. And, I always had a mindset and a attitude of gratitude, so to say. My college coach, actually, I stole that from him, but shout out Coach Amaker. Yeah. Attitude of gratitude. That's a coach saying,
Of course.
But just in life, right? Like, I've always been very thankful and appreciative for, everything, but especially now with what I went through, for every little thing. The little things matter, and, I care a lot about them, and, I'm very appreciative of everything. So, every time I step on the court, I'm giving my all, and I've always been like that, but now it's just amplified a little bit further, right? Like, my parents always told me, give it 100 in the classroom, in sport, and whatever you're doing. And then now with, everything I've gone through, it's like, why not just continue to do that and even more? So that's the way I kind of look at it.
And you're a champion because of that, right?
Exactly.
You won a championship.
CEBL champ. I've won a gold medal, but all that separate. It's like this CEBL championship kind of culminated everything, because I went through so much the last few years. Yeah. I've been with a team that I love the past 2 summers. And the guys were able to get it done, and something I'm truly grateful for, because I couldn't play the rest of the season when I had my surgery. I could play while I was diagnosed, but I had my surgery. So I was out, and, being able to be around and support them to the best of my ability, obviously just watching was tough for me, but it was something that, I was very grateful to be a part of, because, those guys will always be brothers to me. We did something that was, we brought the first championship back to Scarborough, for the city, for the people, and for the organization, right? Like, so that team really means a lot to me. It's my favorite team I ever played for, so.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, because we're together, so, right?
Through your adversity, through mentorship, you built a pretty good life for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've turned every negative situation into something that's positive. How do you plan on giving back to other people now? Because I think, you coming on here, you writing that article, it's all things that you're doing to give back to people.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. I think given my, situation, my life experiences, I think, like, not to say it would be wrong of me, but, I think I wouldn't be doing anyone a service or helping people if I didn't share my story or my experiences. So, continuing to just storytell and connect with as many people as possible, and just continue to use my platform of, obviously I'm blessed to be a professional athlete and do much more than that, but, work in finance in the next few months, like, those are all things that are going to allow me to be in a blessed position in life where I can continue to try and give back. And, I work with the youth development organization, Jump Through Hoops, in terms of coaching, mentoring, young student athletes. So that's just something I do to, give back and give thanks for, everything I've been blessed with and the people that have helped me throughout my time. I want to continue to give back. So,
yeah, well, no, definitely. Do you know how long you want to play?
That's a great question. I'm not sure entirely. Not too long. I want to be able to leverage, and I don't say not too long, like, okay, I'm done, but like, I want to obviously leverage my Harvard degree at some point to the highest of abilities, which I'm, starting to do. I think you can do both, and that's what my plan is, right? In terms of working in finance and also playing, and we'll see how long, that is. Like, like I said, my goal in life is to, find a good woman and, have a family, and, I don't want to get too much into that because it's not.
Oh, you can.
Podcast.
Don't worry. But, I have some thoughts on that right there, brother.
All I was gonna say, man, it's tough to find a good one today. That's
Is it?
I think so.
Oh.
I think so.
I would, Danilo, please elaborate.
Not to get too deep into it, but, I just think that.
No, go to the deep end. Go there. It's okay. It's your show.
I just think, like, a lot of things, there's distractions nowadays, right? Social media, all that stuff. And, I think that some people, it's hard to have people that have the same kind of interests and priorities and outlook on life. And I think it's possible, obviously, but, just putting yourself in situations to find those people and, staying true to yourself is key. So that's all the stuff I'm trying to do in terms of, trying to put myself in a position to find someone. So,
okay.
Yeah.
What are you doing to do that?
Not too much, being me.
Love is Blind. Toronto's here. It's coming.
No, I'm not.
You sure?
No. That's reality TV. I'm not into that.
You not?
No.
You don't want. You got the hair and the.
The look.
You got the look for it, brother. Why not? You can do it. I know some people who put you in. If you want to. No. I feel you though, man. I trust me. I understand. I think it is hard to find someone for sure, but I think for me, at least in my experience, commitment and compromise.
That's it. Yeah, for sure.
Those are the two C words for me.
Absolutely.
And if you can commit to someone, then you can compromise.
Yeah.
And if you can compromise, then you can commit.
True.
Right?
Super true. That's a good way to look at it.
That's the way I do look at it. So
that's awesome.
I've usually had one, but not the other.
Yep.
So I find if I have both, then
that's awesome.
I would be cool. And that's how I judge it. But you're a little younger than me. You got Hinge and Tinder and Bumble and whatever and all that good stuff. So there are plenty of good women. I think it's where we focus, and unfortunately, the focus is usually on negative stuff.
No, absolutely. And that's why I think, like, it goes both ways, like men and women. Like, we just gotta continue to, like, be focused on a good path, and social media and all this other stuff is just extra stuff, and there's a lot more to life and being a good person, and just continue to look after one another, than what's being shared out there, right?
Exactly. And you never know. Your girl could be watching this right soon whenever this drops. You never know. She could hit you up. You got all your contact information's out here now.
There you go. It's out there, right?
You're a public figure. Who knows? Love and Blind might call.
No. That I will decline now. So.
I think I'm very fascinated with your mentality of, like, you're preparing for this death of as an athlete while you're in it. It's not something I did as well. Definitely didn't go to Harvard, so I'm at a bit of a disadvantage there. But I'm fascinated with it because you're doing it simultaneously.
Yes.
And I don't know if I've ever met anyone else who has that in terms of, like, a plan. And yours isn't concrete.
Yep.
You're just doing a lot of different things along the way.
Yes.
And that is amazing.
Yep.
And I think that's something that we can get, that people will hear and be like, well, I can do that too. And I think if you were to ever create a business, that should be it. It's like you're you're walking the line, you know what I mean? And you're balancing both, and you're figuring out a way to like use your network and use your story as a way to go ahead and, you know, build a legitimate business from.
Yeah,
so
no, that's a great, you know, idea, but also something I am trying to kind of put forth in terms of like the mentoring and consulting business I have, and just my own brand, right? Like continuing to build that and use that. But yeah, I mean, I think like we've already talked about so many times, it's like, what are you going to do with all that free time to set yourself up with success, for success? You don't have to have it all figured out, but putting yourself into a great situation where, you know, I have the network now. I have some skills that I've learned with the free time that I've taken time to kind of, you know, start to master, right? Like whether it be a specific industry skill or coding, or, you know, there's all these classes and stuff online. Like take advantage of, you know, everything.
So many.
Yeah, like
you can actually do Harvard classes online.
You can, exactly. And you don't have to be at Harvard,
no,
you know? So, you know, some of them do cost, some of them are free, but, you know, I think the internet technology is just grown so much throughout the years that you just got to continue to use it to your advantage, right? Because, you know, just as we say in basketball, there's always someone out there working that might be working harder than you. There might be someone in, you know, the professional world that's out there working harder than you. So what are you going to do when you're done to kind of, not to say you won't be at the same level as them if you have a long and, you know, lucrative career, but because they have that resume experience is what I'm saying. But what can you do skill-wise to kind of, you know, trail a little bit and be there so that you could use your athletic experience and the skills you learned from sport to combat the people that have already been in the industry for so long. You know what I mean? 100%. So, yeah, that's where I kind of stand on that. And I think that setting you have the ability to set yourself up for success. It depends on how much you want to.
Do you think that your athletic experience should be considered experience when applying to a job? Because that's something that personally, it wasn't validated for me. So when I stopped playing, I came back here. It's like, like all my resume was pretty much just basketball. Yeah. But I think the fact that I can manage a professional career and do that at a high level should be considered working experience, because I am working.
Exactly.
You know,
it's super true. That's, you know, you hit it right there. Like you're working, but you're also learning skills that you would learn in a workplace.
I'm doing
too.
Interviews. I'm doing, you know, I'm public speaking. I'm doing all the things required in a job.
Right. It's so true. Right. And what are the skills that you're learning and how are they transferable? Right. So in a team environment, it doesn't matter if it's a team in a workplace or a team on in a sport. You're learning discipline, you're learning respect, you're learning cooperation, you're learning how to work within very pressure-filled environments. And
every 24 seconds.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's like there's so many skills that transfer that I think, like, regardless of whether or not you worked, obviously depending on, you know, you can't be a doctor if you don't go to med school and you're an athlete. But, you know, you can, you know, build some transferable skills that allow you to have a successful job and be a successful athlete. You know what I mean? So I think the basketball stuff does transfer to some specific jobs, and I think it should be, you know, respected on a resume, not to the highest level, but there should be some respect to people that, you know, do, you know, like devote their life to basketball and then want to, you know, change over.
Or any sport.
So yeah, or basketball or any
Olympian
sport.
Or whatever.
Exactly.
What advice would you give to another athlete that's going to watch this, in your shoes or mine or anyone else?
Athlete, pro athlete, in general.
In general. Especially
athlete pros. In general. You know, I think one piece of advice that I would say is, you know, like we've touched on throughout this podcast, don't label yourself as just an athlete. There's so much more to life than just sport. At some point, whatever sport you're playing is going to end. You know, the ball stops bouncing for basketball players, whether it's due to injury, loss of love, you know, old age, whatever it is. You know, you can't play all your life, right? And that's something you got to recognize. And I think if you start to prepare for it as soon as you can, you're going to be that much more successful. So, and and again, you don't have to have it all figured out. It's just, what are you doing to prepare for that time? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you connecting with people, building your network? Are you learning a skill? Or, you know, in the 10 hours extra you have in overseas, are you like building something? Are you taking a class? Are you know what I mean? Like, just, I think don't label yourself to just using your time for one specific thing. I think if you're disciplined and on top of things, you can do a lot. And 10
hours is such a long time, man.
Long time.
When you really think about it.
Absolutely. So that's what I would say.
Amazing. To conclude, we have a game, final game.
Okay.
It's called 4-3. You can answer any of the following questions or statements with one word or one sentence.
Okay.
Get
Awesome. Cool.
it? Okay. And you know what? I know you're a sharpshooter, so you'll get this. Question 1. When people hear the name Danilo Djuricic, what should they think of?
These are tough questions. Resilience.
Basketball is. Finish the sentence.
Basketball is a tool.
Last question. A quote that you live by.
Smooth seas don't teach skilled sailors. It's something along those lines. Might not be, super, super, to the point, but like that's something that, first one that comes to mind,
good.
right?
That's
so,
good. Well, that concludes. I just want to say thanks for doing this.
No, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you putting yourself out there. It takes a little bit. Well, it takes a lot of courage to go ahead and do that and talk about, what you've been through. And I mean, I think everyone here could agree. The sky's the limit for you. Your mindset.
Thank you.
The way you think and what you've done with basketball, I think is monumental. And it's this episode especially is gonna help a lot of people. It's helped me. I mean, these are things I think about and I wish I had done a little earlier. And you don't need to go to Harvard for that. So your attitude is it's priceless, and it's gonna carry you a long way. Trust me. So
thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being on here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
No doubt.